8 books later, and it is finally time for the official ranking of all the Bridgerton men. We are going to be going from worst to best. The ranking will be based on how good the characters are, and by that I don't mean how well written they were, I mean whether or not I would actually date them in real life. And basically the ranking is based on how decent these men are as human beings. In last place, to hopefully no one's surprise, we have Benedict Bridgerton, the loser. If anyone has watched my previous videos, then you know that I absolutely abhor Benedict Bridgerton. And to be clear, this is book Benedict, not show Benedict, though, you know, show Benedict still remains to be seen, so reasons for last place? Well, I don't know, I think just threatening to have your love interest murdered or shipped off to prison just really puts you at the bottom of the pile. And in second to last place, we have, unfortunately, Philip Crane. I liked Philip Crane. I don't want to hear any hate to Philip Crane. I actually really enjoyed reading his character. I thought he was very well written, but compared to the rest of them, he did still do some bad things that make him deserving of this place. Philip was put in extremely difficult circumstances and never really had a good role model, but his actions still did affect people, and that's why he's here. Even if we forget his treatment of Marina and his neglectfulness of his own children, he still wasn't that great to Eloise, at least at the beginning, but he's learning and he wants to do better, and that is why he is above the loser Benedict Bridgerton. Next up, we have Simon Bassett. I want to make it clear, within this relationship, I have more against Daphne than I do against Simon. But even so, Simon still lied a lot to Daphne and kept her in the dark and kind of liked having her in the dark because it made him feel more powerful. And in that case, not great. Didn't love it, so that's why he's third from the bottom. Next up, we have a potentially controversial one, but Anthony Bridgerton. Most of Anthony's actions are in service of his family, so I can forgive a lot of things, and honestly, he is a genuinely brilliant husband to Kate, even in his own book, and especially in the later books. But there is one scene that kind of grinds my gears a little bit with him. It's the scene where him and Kate first kiss, and this is different in the book than in the show, and I am referring to the books when I talk about this. Anthony finds Kate in his office where she's been hiding. She didn't realize that he was going to be there, and she didn't even know it was his office. And he kisses her, kind of forcibly, but not really forcibly because she does enjoy it, but he does it as a sort of test to prove something to himself and to prove something to her, and it's not great. And then he locks the door and forces her to be the one to go to the ground and pick up the key, and it's just a bit humiliating, and it's such a bit of a power play. I didn't like it. It left a sour taste in my mouth, and that's kind of the reason he's down here and not higher up when he could have been. Now we reach the men that I loved, and I had a bit of trouble ranking them because I actually liked them all for very different reasons. And in fourth place, we have Gregory Bridgerton, and he could have been higher had he not tied up the love of his life to a water closet after kidnapping her from her own wedding. And you know what? It was kind of iconic, and it was kind of like good for the plot, and she actually did kind of not want to be at the wedding, and even so, could have gone about it a different way, I think. But it made for very, very funny writing, and I can't help but support unhinged men, so kudos to that. And in third place, we have Michael Sterling. Michael's position on this board is helped by the fact that he had very little plot himself. His only real plot was following Francesca, which is another reason why he's not higher up on the list, because his only plot was following Francesca, so woohoo. But he was a great guy, he was always very generous, and he always gave such explicit consent to everything he did. It just, chef's kiss, loved it. And in second place, we have Gareth Sinclair. This was a man who had daddy issues who knew how to not take them out on the woman that he loved. Incredible. Gareth was so supportive of Hyacinth throughout the whole book, and he was so trusting of her, and he so believed in her and just wanted her around. The only reason that he is not number one is because there were certain times when he debated lying to her, and he was kind of manipulating her a little bit and put his father before her. But again, I can excuse a lot of that because he never actually made her feel like shit or like made her feel bad for who she was. He just did it all with a bit more grace than everyone else. And I loved him because he was so supportive of her. And more than anything, they worked so well together. You could really see them as a team throughout everything, especially through the heist. And it just warmed my heart, and it had more plot to it, which I think helped. And hopefully to no one's surprise, in first place, we have Colin Bridgerton. This man was kind, he was loyal, he was supportive, he never really got angry, and the only times he properly got angry was when he was genuinely worried about Penelope and what it would mean for her future. And he was so proud of her and so supportive and not at all shameful of her at all, which I was really worried he would be. But he just, the second he realized that he was in love with her, he was like, I'm gonna marry you. The second he knew that she was kind of more okay with being Lady Whistledown, he announced it to the whole town and made it clear that this woman, the love of his life, his wife, was the mastermind behind all these society papers. Oh my god. And then throughout the rest of the books, Colin was even still a brilliant character. He was a side character, but he was super supportive with Michael in Francesca's book, and in the rest of the books, he just was obsessed with food or his wife. There was nothing else on his mind, and that is iconic. I loved it. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree, if you disagree. The only thing I will say is that these two will not change. The rest, fully up to debate. Men.